Welcome to the Serendipitous Rebel podcast. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Krystal. We're business coaches and retreat hosts for bold, purpose-driven women who are ready to build businesses that actually fit their lives.
This podcast is for the authentic, rebellious entrepreneur who's done playing by everyone else's rules. We know what works because we've lived it, coached it, and savored the journey.
Join us for real talk on business, life, and everything in between. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Serendipitous Rebel podcast. My name is Krystal, and I am here with Wendy, my amazing business partner and co-host of this podcast. And this week, we are sharing something we've been working on behind the scenes and thought you guys might want to know a little bit more about it, because maybe you're thinking about doing it too.
Yes.
What is it? Y'all, we're publishing a book.
Yay!
Like more than yay. It's super exciting. So I guess before we jump in on this, like I wanted to be a writer and an author for as long as I can remember. And I think it's the same for you.
Yes. That meant, it's like you've arrived.
Yes.
If you have your name on the cover of a book, you've arrived.
Cover of a book, you've arrived.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
It has been like so many iterations and ideas and thoughts of this for several years. I feel like we kind of kicked this idea around and really kind of just pulled the trigger this year on making this happen. And so we wanted to come in here not only to announce like, yay, we're publishing a book, but we really wanted to talk about, why and some lessons we've learned along the way, because I know that there's a lot of people in our audience who've been thinking of considering the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so interesting because we live in a different world. Because I think that when I first, many moons ago, thought about writing, it was the kind of thing where you'd sit down, you'd write, you'd send out queries to publishing companies, you'd wait, and then somebody in the publishing world sphere made a decision about whether your idea, your concept, your story was worth it. And you hear about people who really poured their heart and souls into writing and really were told no. And I think, I always think that every one of us has a book somewhere inside of us. We all have stories that would be so fabulous to share.
And so I'm getting like all emotional because my grandma used to say that to me, like all the time. Everyone has a book inside them.
And I'm not old enough to be your grandmother.
No, you're not even close.
Right. Well, but I truly believe that that is true. And I really feel that we are in such a good time where the ability to share is so much easier than in the past.
Yeah.
And the need to gatekeep our stories is not really there anymore.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing about it is that I do believe that everyone has a book in them. I believe that a lot of people say they want to write a book, but so many people never get to the publish phase. And it's not because they can't, but I think it's the same pitfalls that befall all of us, even in just running a business, okay? They get stuck, okay? There's like perfectionism kicks in, imposter syndrome kicks in. And so, again, that's really why I wanted to talk about this on the podcast, because, we're doing it. And I really do believe everyone in our audience can do it too.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, you know, it's, I will admit that I am one of those, I get stuck in a procrastination loop. I get stuck in a loop. Oh my gosh, can we edit more? Can we edit more? Can we edit more? And I always think back that Savor actually started as a journal
Mhm.
back in 2020. And I had a coach who had said, you need to put something out there. Well, it took 6 months of somebody's boot up my rear end, and a lot of it really, it took a lot to put something out there. And I did not do it the cool KDP route, which we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah. And yet there's an incredible sense of accomplishment when you actually say something is out there. And especially when you do go the route that it's available today, which is this. Do you want to explain what KDP is?
Yeah, so the thing about it is that I think that now, to Wendy's point, and we actually had somebody in our last summit, and I believe she's been on this podcast, where you did an interview with someone who does self-publishing on Amazon.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and
My
it
favorite author.
You're
Yeah.
her favorite author, whose name is escaping me.
Stephanie Taylor.
Stephanie Taylor. I could see, Stephanie, if you're listening to the podcast, I want you to know I could see your face and I was having a total perimenopause moment of like, why is her name not coming off of my tongue? So Stephanie Taylor was on this podcast and she was in our last summit and
Uh-huh.
talked about self-publishing her books. And
Yes.
I know that was part of us getting the wheels turning of like, I think we could do that. I think we
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
also, alternatively, we had former clients that were also starting to sort of talk about this route of publishing, and they were working with anthologies and they were contributing to an anthology and invited us for possibly doing their own anthology book, which I feel like is always such an interesting idea. So think
Mm-hmm.
about books that you guys have listened to or read in the past, like chicken soup books are the ones that come to my head all the time because they were anthology books that came out when I was in college or
Mm-hmm.
high school or something. And it's just a collection of stories, right? And again, we always kind of came back to this idea that we have so much great content behind the scenes of just our
Mm-hmm.
business. And in addition to having just stories personally,
Mm-hmm.
he has an amazing life story. I have a story. There is just all of these things going around. How do we get it out into the world? And so we
Mm-hmm.
thought, well, let's self-publish. And it in this iteration of this book that we're working on, the book is called Break Up with Blueprint Business. And it actually started as a workshop that we've run and we still run. But it was how do you get this out in a different format to more people because it's such an
Mm-hmm.
important concept and an idea. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And we had decided to go the route of self-publishing on Amazon. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is actually how our book is going to come out. You can pre-order it. It will be the link in the show notes. But the idea of this is to take your book and you can actually self-publish on Amazon. And you do that in what they call a KDP format. What KDP formatting actually means when you publish through Amazon, it's Kindle Direct Publishing is what KDP stands for.
Oh, I did not know that.
Um, I knew
Wow.
that and I couldn't think of the acronym again earlier, just kind of like I couldn't think of Stephanie's name. Anyhow, I'm having the most perimenopause brain of I walk into rooms lately and I don't know what I came in there for all the time now, all the time. that's not recent, by the way. That's been happening for longer than I care to admit. And this is how
I was going to say it doesn't, and it does.
yeah, it's terrifying. So, okay, so when you publish through Amazon, Amazon KDP or Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing basically requires two pieces, okay? It requires your manuscript
Mhm.
file and a recover, which is the inside of the book, and it requires a cover file, which is a front, spine, and a back for a paperback copy, okay? And if you're doing an ebook, you have to format the manuscript a specific way, and you're going to upload that document either as a document, an EPUB, or a KPF. So think about that's a fancy way of saying if you've ever had to download a picture, it's asking you, do you want to download this in a JPEG format, a PNG format, or an SVG file? And each of them have different roles or feelings in the back. And we're not going to go into that because this is not a graphic design or publishing. This is a publishing podcast, not a graphic design podcast. If you're doing a paperback, you have to be more precise in how you're going to select this, okay? You have to choose a trim size. In our case, we went for a 6x9. Paperback, you have to make sure your margins are set correctly, and then you export that as a PDF, okay? All this to say, there's all these decisions to basically publish to Amazon KDP, okay?
So I think that, so if I think our listener is probably saying, why would you do this?
Yeah.
And I think that there's really valid reasons for using this particular format or this particular platform. And I think about it, and I think there's some real beauty here. One of the beautiful things about this is the control you have. You can decide your cover, your title, your framework, your deadlines, your release times, absolutely everything, because there's no committee, no compromises, and really ultimately when you decide how you want this to be aligned with your brand, nothing has to be diluted, which I think is huge when you hear about, publishers. And don't get me wrong, I think the world of publishers, and it's just, and there's also the speed factor. Traditional publishing can take from 18 months to 2 years from
Mhm.
contract to shelf. KDB can take weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once the manuscript is ready, and even really getting the manuscript, I mean, we did a little pokey for a little bit, but I think we're talking about less than 2 months.
I think that's about right. I think from
Yeah.
idea to, hey, we've got this great concept, we've got all of this IP that we teach and that we work through. What would it take to make it and
Yep.
self-publish it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was about 2 months turnaround of then now taking our idea, writing a manuscript, and then going through all the edits.
Yeah.
And then from there taking all of those edits and making sure that we're putting it into the correct formats that are required by the KDP, right? And I think to your point, there is this amazing opportunity for business owners, unlike ever before, to get their ideas and their concepts out into the world
Mhm. Yep.
without having to work through the gatekeeper of the publisher.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, again, this is not field of dreams. Okay. I would say this like with everybody and clients, man, they get so mad at me when I say this sometimes, but just because you build a website does not mean your business, they will come, right? It's going
Yeah.
to be the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of back work that we're doing behind the scenes to market the book,
Yeah.
we built an entire strategy and funnel to go in to sell the book. And it's also understanding where the book's going to lie in your funnel and in your sales business ecosystem, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's a really important thing to know and think about when you go into publishing your book. but I think that the opportunity for people
Hmm.
to tell their stories,
Is
okay,
huge. It's
is
huge.
huge.
It's
And
huge.
it's much like, for years we have been the people that have encouraged women to start podcasts, to start
Hmm.
telling your story, to start getting on and getting your voice out there. I think the same thing can be true of, again, publishing your book, right?
Hmm.
To your point,
Absolutely.
everybody has a story. How powerful for us to share our stories, because when you think about the potential to shape the world and
Hmm.
shape online business landscapes and understand how
Hmm.
things work, this is just another avenue of traffic to get your voice out there. And that's why we just really love this concept so much. And I love that Amazon KDP has this ability to make it easy. I mean, and I take that back, it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay. It's simple to get out there. It's not necessarily an easy process. There's still all the other pitfalls that we've had to go through the last
Sure.
months to get it out there.
The one thing that always keeps popping in my head is the fact that you don't have to be a writer to write a book. And you don't have to be a professionally trained writer or, English major or journalist or whatever it is to actually write a book. You have to have something that you think is worth saying, and you have to have the willingness to say it and put it out there permanently,
Yeah.
because once it's out there, it's really out there. And I really do think that it's a process, that there are specific steps. And yeah, it's doesn't always, there's always some pitfalls or stumbling blocks as you go along. Um, but it's, I think, such an important opportunity to share. And from, an entrepreneur's standpoint, it is really a way to build authority. If what you have to say makes it yours. It's you are the authority of your story. Um
And we always say this too, from a marketing standpoint for a business. A lot of
mhm,
us come into the online space, we have an offer, an idea, and we want to get clients. And
mhm,
I love what you said. It is a huge way to build authority, because when people are trying to make decisions about who to invest in, who to buy, they are looking for an authority and expertise intersection there out
mhm.
of people. And this is just a great way to build that. So I want to kind of shift this a little bit, because I think when a lot of people are thinking about writing their book, okay,
Mhm.
kind of like launching anything, there is a messy middle to it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I think, and that's where most people quit, and they don't actually
Yes.
get their book published and over the finish line. And you kind of touched a little bit that you could get into this loop of like,
Uh-huh.
let's just do more edits, let's just do more edits. I get into the loop of the design piece of it, of like, well, maybe we should just tweak the formatting here, and oh, maybe we need to add this here. And you really get into this overthinking structure of it, of like, who are we talking
Mhm.
to? Is it long enough? Is it too long? Did we get a little winded here? And I mean, I could talk about like where I had kind of gotten to a point of wanting to stop. What for you was like the thing to get over that hurdle?
So that's so interesting. So we did a first, actually, we took the workshop and started putting it into book form. And I think that we obviously, as a workshop, did not have as much time to like share stories. So there it was like, okay, we have to make it more personal. We have to really show the reader who we are. And here and I was like, oh well, maybe I'll do that later, or I'll think about that later. And the later went from probably a week to 2 weeks. And then it's like, oh, well, we have other things that are priorities. Yeah, yeah, I know this is a priority. It says so in our Notion. It had it listed as a priority. But no, it's fine. It's a priority, but no. And then I think what had happened is, oh, I know. We were going on the retreat on the cruise, and I was like, this has to be this has to be moving forward. This has to be venturing under my power and its own power with my foot up its butt. So and I remember on the ship, how's that coming along? And I was like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." All I wanted to do was bark. And I'm like, y'all can leave, y'all can kiss my ass, really. No, I did not say that. I thought it.
You did not say it at all.
I just was like, "Ugh." um, and and not
Oh, I
there's no,
didn't know
but
that.
yeah, oh, I was like, oh my God, the pressure.
I was
But
never intending to put pressure. I'm so sorry.
oh, but it wasn't, no. It was not just you. I do believe that participants were also like, how's that coming along?
Well, yeah, because we had set it up as a thing to hold us
Yes.
accountable on too.
Yes. So,
Oh, that's a funny thing about community and accountability. It
yes,
bites you in the ass
yes,
sometimes.
it was perfect. And also, but all of a sudden, it's this beautiful blue sky and the beautiful water. And I was like, okay, I got into a rhythm. I got into, and I was like, I'm going to finish my part so that we can get this moving. And yeah, we've been back 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And in those 2 weeks have really moved mountains about getting this it's I mean it's done.
It's
Well,
done. I think
the actual initial part of it is done. Yeah.
the final, we have the final PDF ready to publish version, probably needs one last overlook, but I think the final edits have been put in and are ready to go. I think for me, so my answer to that question really was this idea of, okay, I started working on the cover image. Lordy,
Ah, you did.
Lordy D, y'all. I mean,
Can I just say you showed it to me. I go, "Oh yeah, that's nice. Can we?" And I think I said one thing.
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's great." And you're looking at me like I slaved over this.
Well, it was so, and the funny thing
It
is
was
about
your
it
like
was
heart and soul thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's great."
just one little thing, just
Yeah,
one little thing, right?
yeah.
When you're thinking about this cover image, I got it all in my head. Like this is the first impression. So I thought about it probably the same way I overthink when I design a sales page for the first time, right? You know, if they're gonna make a decision in 5 seconds. They don't like it, they're gonna bounce, right? And I went through so many iterations. I think I showed you the final like five
No,
iterations.
you showed me a few of
There
them.
were quite a bit of them, but I mean, there were probably more before that that are lost in the ethers of Canva and AI. And I did use Claude for part of it, and I went through a Chat GPT iteration of this. We did multiple LLM variations of this book and talked through because I wanted it to be branded aesthetically. I wanted it to appeal to our ideal client. I wanted it to not have distracting weird stuff going on. AI will take you down paths that you never wanted to go. And herein sometimes lies the problem with AI, right? And it's like, no, that's not what I want. That's ridiculous. It would come back with image
Why does
variations.
Yeah, and why does that person have 7 fingers going
Why
in the
does that
wrong
person have 7 figures? Why do we need a person on the cover at all? Let's get the person off of that cover.
right. I mean,
Why, like I went through weird images. It doesn't need an image. It went through
no.
weird color variations. Where did you get that color? That's not one of our branded hex colors. Then it took one of our colors that's like a accent small color and it made it the primary. The whole thing was purple. It was a little terrifying. It had weird aesthetic. I had a cover image that had like a weird aesthetic, like V that was very suggestive looking, and I
Yeah,
was
no,
like,
yeah,
not
no,
interested in that at all.
no.
I was like, why does that, why, no. And so it, and now the cover, I'm really happy with where we ended up. It's very simple. It's very clean. It's branded. It's aesthetically pleasing, all of the things. But it is very easy for me to go into the rabbit hole of tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak and not
Mhm.
ever getting to a point of perfection because I
Yeah.
didn't know quite exactly where that end goal was and I didn't know where I wanted it to be. And so, and I think we all do this in like every iteration of our business again, right? We overthink and we tweak and we overthink and
Yes.
we overthink,
Yeah.
tweak.
Yeah.
And I think it's a self-protective thing that I do that is
Oh,
ultimately self-sabotaging.
yeah.
But ultimately, if I'm still tweaking, it's not live in the world and therefore can't be rejected by anybody. Or
Oh, there's,
even if I'm self-tweaking and I've not shown it to Wendy, then it can't be rejected in any way, which is also silly because
well, but it's funny though, because as I'm listening, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about actually our last episode about uh about learning to say no
hmm
and disappointing, others and ourselves. And I just, you know, we have these defense mechanisms that are built into all of us that it's easier to, and I also think in terms of the disappointing, in some ways it's also easier to stay busy doing things for other people, and just,
hmm
and also in terms of like the book, doing things in this constant repetitive loop. We could stay in the loop of editing for
hmm
the rest of our lives.
Sure.
I remember about, actually, I think that I did this probably, it's actually probably about 20 years ago, probably when the kids, this would have been right before Becca and Jake were born. And I decided I wanted to write a young adult fiction. And I still have the story in my head. And I signed up to do this course, and it was literally like a mail course where you'd get like this stuff, and it was out of the University of Wisconsin. For some reason they had a, I guess they have a really good writing school, and I'm sure they do, but anyway, so you'd have this assignment, and you'd have to, they'd mail it to you, and then, oh my god, anyway, whatever. So I was in this constant loop of rewriting the intro, like it's not an introduction, but what is it, a prologue or whatever, epilogue,
hmm
prologue, whatever. And I was obsessed with, what is this porch that this girl is stepping onto look like? And I kept, I was fixated. And finally, the woman is like, "Can you please get her off the porch? Can you please move into the the hallway? Do something." But I mean, I spent like the entire, and I must spend like a 6 week. I was obsessed, and
Oh
I
my
realized,
gosh, you had to shit or get off the porch.
yeah, yes, yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really painful. I mean, this was unbelievably painful. And I think I realized that at the time I needed someone, yeah, and then I just stopped doing it. But, and it's still in my head, taking up space. But that's a whole other story.
Oh,
But I
you
think
didn't
that
told
it's,
me that. It's getting out by the end of the year. Anyhow,
yeah. Well, I've moved on to other story ideas.
sure, sure, sure.
But it's just crazy. Actually, I thought of another story that uses the same house, but anyway, that's a whole other story. Yeah, it's just, it really is, um I think it is definitely a defense mechanism. It's
hmm
just this constant loop that we find ourselves. And I think whether it's right for entrepreneurs, whether it's writing a book, creating whatever content or IP we're looking to create, it's there's an ownership. And, well, you know, I don't want anyone, it's kind of like, I don't want anyone to laugh at me. I don't want anyone to tell me this is not as wonderful as I think it is. In which case, as in life, we all need to pull up our big girl panties and realize that there is such a thing as being vulnerable. And
Mhm.
we have to be vulnerable, especially with our stories. And if we're willing to share, we have to put it out there. And really, there's such a thing as too much editing.
It is.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And for us, I mean, I know that I had those moments too when we were rewriting different areas. We had kind of made this decision to put in these different sections of reflection of like personal things that we can, personal
Yeah.
examples from our own lives of where we
Yeah.
struggled in these moments and the lessons we had learned. And that means sharing, yeah, some vulnerable moments of
Hmm.
the last 8, 9 years that we've been in the online business industry, right?
Hmm.
And and that was hard. And I think initially, like the first round of draft was just something very generic and vague. And when I read it, I was like, yeah, nobody else knows what I'm talking about here. And
Yeah.
therefore, nobody cares. And so
Yep.
going in and challenging myself to actually be specific, to be
Yeah.
that that was tough.
Yeah. Very.
But I think alternatively, I think a lot of this I kind of held back because when you're publishing a book, you're speaking a lot of jargon, like we said, like what is KDP and what is EPUB and what are all these different acronyms mean? And I'm not tech savvy enough to figure all of this out. I will
Hmm.
say, as we've been going through this process, because we've been in much more of the technical aspect the last couple of days of this,
Yeah.
um, where we had to buy ISBN numbers and register those and things like that. And as I'm moving forward and moving through this, it's very uncomfortable because it's the first time I've ever done this. Again, I can understand language and CSS on funnels now because I've been doing it for a while, but I feel like I'm back to that first day of like, I don't know what that means. Um, and asking a lot of questions and Googling a lot of things and searching for a lot of things to help navigate through when I hit a word or hit jargon that I've never heard of before, and doing a lot of research and learning
Hmm.
along the way. And so it's starkly outside of my comfort zone, but has been kind of exciting to do something new because I felt like it's been a long time since we've done something new.
Yeah, and there is definitely an excitement to that. There's definitely an energy about uh yeah, this is new skills, new opportunities. Now, mind you, there's nothing in the book that talks about KDP or
No.
the technological stuff.
Yeah, it's not a meta book. We did not write a book about
No.
a book. The
Yeah, no,
podcast is about this,
oh
but
my gosh, how meta would that be?
um
Writing a book about a book about a book.
we could write a book about writing a book. It's probably gonna be better than the half a dozen courses we purchased on this. So it's
Arr,
totally fine.
rawr.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's
but that's the other thing of like leading up to the imposter syndrome about this, right? And I think business owners do this all the time. We're not sure how to do it, so we dive into the education about how to do it, but we
yeah.
actually execute the doing of the thing. We definitely sat in that for a long time.
Yep.
The reality of it is, I would equate it to I installed pull-out shelves in my kitchen
You
uh
did?
a couple years ago.
Oh,
I
okay.
did. This was a couple years ago. And it was something that I always dreamed about wanting. How lovely. Pull out drawer, enter your kitchen to like pull out your pots and pans and lid. That
Yeah.
sounded so like luxurious and fancy. Like fancy kitchens had that, right? Y'all,
Yes.
when I finally did it, and I thought in my head, and the reason I didn't do it, like that must be like a major like remodel project or something. I mean, I know if anybody has these or has done this, you're laughing at me right now, but this is the thought process in my head. That's going to cost me a ton of money. It's too technical. I'm going to have to hire somebody like and pay thousands of dollars to go get this done. And finally, I got it in my head. I'm just going to go do this. And you know what it cost me? It cost me $200 for two pull-out shelves underneath for my pots and pans, and it took me less than an hour to do. And I was
Oh,
mad at myself by the time it was all said and done because if I had known that's all it would have cost, I would have done it the minute I moved into my house.
you
And I
could come and
wouldn't,
do that here.
I would do that next time I come to visit, I'll do that.
Okay. Because I've wanted pull out stuff.
It's not that hard, but I think in our mind we make these things bigger
Yes,
than
we do.
what they actually are. And I think
It's,
it's the
yeah,
same as even publishing this book and launching
yeah,
it. Like it's one thing to write it and then people get hung up on the tech aspect of all
yes,
the language and the jargon of what they need to do.
yes,
In
yes.
reality, it costs us a little bit of money to buy the ISBNs and set things up appropriately because we wanted to maintain ownership of that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
choice that you can make as you're doing this. But at the same time, it's just kind of fumbling our way through each bit, each form, and each piece and learning as we go. And it's venturing into that uncomfortable thing. Kind of like putting up my shelves. I might do a little bit wrong, but again, it's not that deep. We can come back and
I
fix
just
things.
thought I was just about to say it's not that deep.
It,
Oh my
well,
gosh.
no, that's why we're
Yeah.
that's why we're
And,
part.
I think about it and something I haven't thought about in a while, but it does pop into my head frequently about what is the worst thing that happens? The worst thing that happens, I think, is that someone gives you a less than stellar review.
Oh,
But then, you know, we also know that I worry about like the lipstick I'm wearing and will people like the lipstick? Anyway.
well, I'm going to put the same disclaimer on our book that I do at the end of this podcast. If you liked it, please leave us a review. If you didn't, just keep that to yourself.
Oh, I love it. Or pretend like we're Mary and Jane and
Yeah,
not Crystal and Wendy.
sure, sure. And our apologies to Mary and Jane for whatever bad juju we just sent you over.
Just
um,
oh
so
my
yeah.
gosh.
So yeah, I think the biggest lesson for me coming out of this whole thing was that if this is something that you have wanted to do, if this has been in the back of your mind, I think it's time to venture under your own power, get
Hmm.
out of your comfort zone, and just do it.
Do it. Yeah, just sit down and do it. And I will add to that that I have actually found this to be a really fun process. It's not only like unburdening in terms of storytelling
Mhm.
and sharing knowledge with others.
Mhm.
But it also there is a creative piece that if you can, kind of nudge it along, I think we all have that. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's again, what's the worst thing that happens? You give it a try.
Right.
And if people say, well, there has to be an expense, well, truly, if you think about it, actually in this world, no, because and with Amazon, what I had actually some misconceptions. I thought Amazon owned the rights. They do not. They do
No,
not own, it's your intellectual property.
correct.
You retain that intellectual property. It's
Hmm.
always your intellectual property. I think
Correct.
that there are some, you can decide who distributes it, but there's no question about the intellectual property, which I was excited because I had thought otherwise. But is opening an account, there's no cost. Even
Correct.
uploading and doing all of that, there's no cost. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to really make something that was very I'm going to say bougie, but something that was very more, very more. Wow, there's the English person in me. That was very exclusive at one time.
Yeah.
Very, uh, only certain people can do this. Has really taken it and made it so egalitarian. Anyone can publish a book.
Yep.
And that's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And really
Yeah.
empowering.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Exciting.
Well, everybody, if you are not a member of our Saver Online community, we invite you to jump in there because that's where you're going to get all the deets on the launch of this book. You can join at serendipitousrebel.com/community. It is free to join. The book will be available for pre-purchase. The link is going to be in the show notes. And the book, which we didn't even really talk about, the book is about breaking up with your blueprint business. And the idea is that how do you create the right way to create a business and a marketing strategy, and walking you through the steps to get away from other blueprints and the other things that have given us bright and shiny object syndrome over the years and have really just created these Frankenstein businesses instead. But how do you build a business that you truly love and are not resentful of? So,
Yes. Very exciting. Can't wait. Can't wait.
super exciting. So on that note, guys, until next week, thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating.
But only if you liked it. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself.
You can learn more about our upcoming masterminding opportunities on our website at serendipitousrebel.com.
And if you have topics you'd like to hear about, be sure to submit them on our website or DM us on social media.
Hey, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.